We can go ahead and get started. I know everyone probably has a lot going on, so might as well get started. But thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight as we preview the pre-physician assistant program at CU Lock Haven. Again, really appreciate everybody joining us. I know you probably have a lot going on right now. There's a lot of other things you could be doing. We were just talking about how nice the weather is right now. So the fact that you're giving up your Wednesday evening to spend time with us is certainly much appreciated. But we have a great event. We will be, like I said, we will be preparing the pre-physician assistant program as well as the physician assistant graduate program. The event should take probably around 45 minutes. This is being recorded as well. We will be posting this on the PA website and on YouTube as well. So if anybody wants to be a repeat viewer, truly appreciate that as well. It'll be available online probably by the end of the week. But before we get started, if our team wouldn't mind introducing themselves, I would appreciate it. I'll go first. My name is Tom Kresh. I am the Director of Enrollment Communications. Jamie.
I'm Jamie Kester. I'm Director of Admissions at Commonwealth University Lock Haven.
And Dr. Lippincott.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Eric Lippincott. I'm Professor and Department Chair for Health and Exercise Science based at the Lock Haven campus.
He is the man of the hour. So, Dr. Lippincott, how long have you been at Lock Haven? And if you wouldn't mind giving us a little bit of background, like what is your area of interest, your area of research?
Sure. So I'm actually a Lock Haven grad. I did my undergraduate work at Lock Haven in the Health Science Department, the same department that I'm in now. Left there, went to physical therapy school down at Widener University, right outside of Philadelphia, lovely city of Chester. And then practiced for a while in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, basic outpatient orthopedic practice, and then came back to Lock Haven a long time ago, 20 plus years ago. I've been a faculty member in the Health and Exercise Science Department ever since then. I started a term as department chair in May. So just kind of getting my feet wet as department chair. But my background is in athletic training, physical therapy. I did go on to pursue a PhD at some point along the way. My area of interests are orthopedic rehabilitation, specifically shoulder pain and shoulder injuries and overhead athletes. So that's really my research area. My role primarily now is administrative as chair of the department, making sure you all get a really great education and we're delivering top-notch healthcare education. So that's a little bit about me. I've got 3 kids. The middle one is a freshman at Bloomsburg. So when I do travel to the Bloomsburg campus, I get to see her pretty regularly. It's great to be able to touch base with her when I'm there. I do spend a fair amount of time traveling between our multiple campus locations, Lock Haven, Bloomsburg, and Mansfield. So a little bit about me.
Dr. Lippincott, you couldn't convince her to stay within, in the family business of health sciences and
nursing. So, I mean, she's adjacent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got, she didn't want to have dad in class is kind of what I'm hearing.
No, definitely not.
Okay. All right. So I know we do have a presentation here, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and turn it over to Dr. Lippincott.
Great. It's good to see you all again. This session is really designed to talk to you about the pre-physician assistant. And truly, the profession is now trying to use the term physician associate. And so I'll try my best to use that term. That's a relatively new change within the profession. Like I said earlier, I've been a faculty member at Lock Haven for 23 years now. I primarily teach anatomy and physiology. I teach some of our upper level rehabilitation classes, but in our department, we have a pre-physician assistant program. So PAs, we'll call them that, licensed providers work in every specialty practice area, hospitals, outpatient clinics, rehab facilities, you name it, they're doing surgery, you name the practice setting, there's PAs working in those environments. They're in very high demand. There's lots and lots of job opportunities in all of healthcare. There's really great job opportunities, including for PAs. The salaries are great. I mean, the job placement rate after you graduate from the graduate program, is 100% essentially. As with pretty much all healthcare now, the education occurs at the graduate degree level. So that's one thing I want to make sure everyone's clear with tonight, is that you'll get an undergraduate degree in health science, pre-physician assistant, and then to become a PA, you have to receive graduate training. We do offer the graduate portion of PA at the Lock Haven campus. So we have both undergraduate and graduate. And we'll talk a little bit more about the graduate program in a few minutes. Before we get much further, I do want to say that if you have questions throughout, just put them in the chat, raise your hand. We'll pause kind of at the end of each slide to follow up on questions. It's really kind of meant to be informal. So if you have questions along the way, just kind of shout them out. So that's just a little bit about the physician assistant associate profession and what you're kind of getting into.
And Dr. Lippincott, if you don't mind, could you expand a little bit on kind of what the future of the profession looks like? It seems like the PA profession has expanded in terms of responsibility, and like I feel like PAs are you see a lot more of them. It seems like this has been an area of emphasis in healthcare in the last 10, 20, 30 years. Am I wrong there?
No, sure. You're right on. There's a provider gap, right? We don't have enough healthcare providers. There's, especially if you look at certain pockets of the U.S., either really rural areas or very urban areas, there's not enough physicians. There's not enough any kind of provider. And so PAs are really doing a great job of filling that gap. And so, you might have a doctor's office that has one or two physicians, but they might have 5 or 6 or 7 PAs working there. PAs are in Pennsylvania, they work with physicians, they work under a physician, but again, doing many of the things that a physician are doing, prescribing medicine, seeing patients independently, assisting with surgery, all those kind of things that you often think of a physician doing. But, the training is 2 years long as opposed to 4, 8, or 12, whatever it is for the medical school and the residency and fellowship and all those kind of things.
And I know one of the other things too that seems to be pretty unique with PAs is they have the ability to switch areas of specialty along their career, which as someone who might be considering going to medical school, that's not necessarily going to be an option. Whereas a PA might have the ability to be like, I want to go from primary care to nephrology or something like that. Is that accurate?
Yeah, for sure. I know a number of our graduates that have, decided right after grad school they want to work emergency medicine or in a critical care unit. It's high paced, it's a lot of action, but it also comes with a significant amount of stress and oftentimes not a lot of sleep. And so when you're younger, you're good for that. But as you get older, you might want to move into primary care or something where it's a little more low pace, a little more settled down, a little more structured, those kind of things. There's lots of opportunities to kind of move around and maybe, practice an area for a couple of years and you realize, this is not really what I want to do. You can easily switch over to a different practice area.
Great, thank you.
I see there's a question.
Oh, geez. Yeah, sorry about that. Does Commonwealth offer scholarships? Rashid, that's a great question. We do. And we will talk a little more about that later on in the presentation, but I appreciate you asking. We will unquestionably get to that here soon. Thank you.
You probably have heard Thomas and I talking about Commonwealth U and Lock Haven, and we probably should have prefaced that a little bit at the beginning of this talk. So about a year and a half ago, Lock Haven and University and Bloomsburg University and Mansfield University integrated to become Commonwealth University. So that happened July 1, officially July 1 of 2022. So we're a year and a little bit into that integration. I will say at this point, it's going great. We're seeing lots of exciting things happening. When we talk about the pre-PA and the PA program, most of those programs are available at both the Lock Haven and Bloomsburg campus. We'll talk a little bit about the difference between those. But I think most of the people here tonight are designated interest in the Lock Haven campus. But if you're all thinking about, well, maybe can I do some of this at Bloomsburg? The answer is yes, and we can have that kind of conversation later. So in our department, in the health science department, which is where the undergraduate degree is housed, there are a variety of different degree programs. We have associate's degree. Primarily what we do is baccalaureate degree, the bachelor's degree, but we do also have a few master's degree programs as well. So we're a big department. Our department has 30 faculty members, total headcount of students of around 1,200 in our department across 3 campus locations. So we're a large department, which is great for you as a student. Lots of opportunities for specialty classes and electives. If you're a pre-PA student, maybe you decide to pick up a minor in public health, which is a great addition to your undergraduate curriculum. So, lots of opportunities in our department. We have many different, what we call pre-professional degree programs. Again, because most of these healthcare programs are happening at the graduate degree. We have the correlated undergraduate. So we have the pre-PA, which we're going to talk about. We have also pre-physical therapy, pre-athletic training, pre-occupational therapy. They're all really similar for the first year. So a lot of you may, as a 17, 18, 19-year-old, you're not totally sure what you want to do. You want to do healthcare, but you're not really sure. Come to Commonwealth U, spend a year with us. We'll help you figure that out, right? That's really our first year is really pretty consistent across all the different concentrations we have. So the pre-PT and the pre-AT and the pre-OT, the first year, the classes are almost nearly identical. So there's lots of flexibility. There's that core set of classes you take that first year, but you can bounce back and forth between them. And we have faculty who are really kind of committed to helping you figure that out your first year, right? We have core, a group of faculty who are, serve as your academic advisors, can help kind of guide you along that career journey. Because we do have a graduate PA program at Commonwealth U Lock Haven, we have a really good relationship. They're actually housed in the same building where my office is. Willis Health Professions building is where all the health science classes are. On the second floor is the graduate PA program and the graduate athletic training program. So undergraduate is primarily first floor, graduate program is second floor. So if I ever have questions or, they have questions for me, we have a great working relationship with that PA program. It is so helpful for you as a future PA to have that kind of connection between undergraduate and graduate. Now, some of you might decide, and we can talk about this later, but you might decide, you know what, I want to do 4 years at Commonwealth U Lock Haven, get my pre-PA degree, then I'm going to apply to a different PA program. You can do that. We don't encourage you to do that. We obviously want you to stay with our PA program because it's one of the best in the country, right? But you do have the option as an undergraduate pre-PA. You say, you know what, I want to go do my graduate training in Philadelphia or Pittsburgh. You can do that. Again, our preference. We have a great graduate PA program. We want you to stay with us for the entire time.
And Dr. Lippincott, I'm sorry to interject. We do have a question here and a good one from Andrew. What type of schooling do you have to do to switch practice or your area of specialty? So kind of touching on what we were talking about on the previous slide.
So there are some specialties you can do as a PA. There's some specialty exams, those kind of things you can do. But a lot of it is kind of on the job training. And PA is kind of at the point where, I have a close family friend who's a PA, and she does emergency orthopedic trauma surgery. So if you're in a bad car accident and you break your leg, and she started that job right out of grad school. She went directly from grad school to doing orthopedic trauma surgery. So think about that. I mean, that's pretty awesome. It's something I would like to do on a daily basis. So it was really, you do a bunch of clinical rotations while you're in grad school. But her first job was I have another one of my colleagues, his son just graduated from PA school. His first job is a hand surgeon, right? So he's working alongside with a hand surgeon. A lot of the training that you'll receive as a PA is kind of that on the job training. You don't necessarily have to go back to school or any of those kind of things.
Dr. Lippincott, in case you're looking at a career change, we are accepting applications. We cannot guarantee admission, but we will conduct a holistic review of all of your application material. So look forward to seeing that. Yep, no problem.
If I was only 30 years younger. At Commonwealth U Lock Haven, we have three options to get you to PA school. We have an accelerated 3+2 model, which we're going to explain each of these in more detail. We have an accelerated 3+2 model in our department, health science. We have a 4+2 health science. And then in the biology department, there's a degree in biomedical science, and they have a pre-PA concentration. Obviously, the talk tonight is about the health science degree program. So, this is really what we're kind of focusing in on, but you do have that option of biomedical sciences. It's truly a biology degree. It's a lot heavier emphasis on the biology side of things than we do in health sciences. Health sciences, we focus more on human anatomy, human physiology, how the body works, diseases. It's definitely just a different approach to the undergraduate curriculum. I'm not saying one's better than the other. They're just different, right? Very much a human body focus versus a biology focus. And so those 3+2 and the 4+2, just to explain what those numbers mean, the +2 is the graduate portion, right? So the graduate PA program is 2 years long. So then the 3+ means you do 3 years as an undergraduate student and then 2 years as a graduate student. Or the 4+2 is 4 years traditional undergraduate and then 2 years in the graduate PA program. And we're going to talk more about both of those programs kind of coming up next.
Dr. Lippincott, we do have another really good question from Sophie here. If you do your pre-PA degree at Lock Haven, do you have preferential admission to the graduate program?
Fantastic question. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. And that would fall under the 4+2 most likely. So again, this is 4+2 pre-PA. So health science degree, your major would be health science. Your what we call concentration is pre-PA studies or pre-physician assistant. This is your traditional undergraduate 4-year degree program. This is great for some students who maybe want more of a traditional undergraduate student. We're going to talk about the accelerated 3+2 model and some of its advantages, but there's a group of students who really thrive and want a traditional undergraduate experience. Maybe you want to be a student athlete. Maybe you want to spend a semester studying abroad. Great experiences, really important part of your college experience. In that situation, I would encourage you to think about the 4+2 model. This program is available both at the Lock Haven and Bloomsburg campuses. You're going to take, like I said, your first semester, you're going to start with anatomy and physiology. You're going to have medical terminology courses, disease classes, but then we also supplement that with all the necessary sciences you need to apply to PA school. Chemistry, biology, organic chemistry. Graduate PA programs do require a number of sciences. You have to be prepared coming in that you're going to take a heavy course load in the sciences. Microbiology, organic chemistry, biochemistry. It's pretty heavy duty program. I mean, you're doing surgery and prescribing medication, right? We want you to have that biology or that science background, right? So heavy duty on the health sciences, advanced anatomy, advanced human physiology, all those kind of things in our department, and then supplementing that with the sciences you need to be able to apply to PA school. The one thing that's really pretty different, 4+2 versus 3+2, in the 4+2 program, you're not guaranteed admission into the graduate program. Right? They do give some preferential treatment to our undergraduate students. You get basically a bonus points on your application, but you're not guaranteed admission. That's a big point to know, 4+2 versus 3+2. However, if you have a 3.2 GPA at the end of your junior or the end of junior year, and you have a B or better in all of your core classes, you're guaranteed an interview. And an interview is the big step. To get an interview is a really big deal to get into the graduate program. You know, they might have 500 or 600, and Tom and Jamie can probably verify that exact number, but they might have between 500 and 600 students that apply for 30 or 40 seats, right? And so to get an interview out of that group of 50 is a really big deal. Again, the criteria to be guaranteed an interview is you have to have a 3.2 GPA and a B or better in your courses. So not guaranteed admission in the graduate program with the 4+2 program. Questions on that one?
Yes. So Dr. Lippincott, do you hold slots for 4+2?
We didn't. There are no slots held for the 4+2 program. Again, preference given to Lock Haven undergraduate students, but it's not that there's not seats held for 4+2 students. Definitely, there are seats held for 3+2, which we're going to talk about in a minute, but there are not specific seats held for 4+2.
And then speaking of the 3+2 program, is it possible to be an athlete and do the 3+2 program?
Isn't that the question? The answer to that question is it depends. We have had some student athletes do the 3+2 program for the first 3 years. You cannot do it when you're in the graduate program. So this is often a big kind of turnoff to doing it. So your 4th year of college, you know, you're a senior athletically. You're your 4th year on your team, but you're in the grad program, so you can't participate. There's no way you can do the grad program and be a student athlete. There's just not enough time in the day to make those two things happen. But for the first 3 years in the 3+2 program, you can, if you have really good time management skills, and if it's a sport that can be somewhat flexible. You know, it works really well with sports like track and field, cross country. I mean, you can go run any time of day, but if you have a team that practices, you know, every afternoon from 2 to 4 or 7 to 9 in the morning, it's challenging. We say you can do it, but you better have really good time management skills.
I had a couple follow-up questions here. How many students are admitted each year for the graduate program?
The grad program, I might rely on you, either Tom or Jamie, to help. But I think the graduate program, once you get there, I think they have a total of around 65 to 70 seats. That's limited by their accrediting body. By the time you all get to the graduate program, that number might change. We are looking to add seats at the Mansfield campus. So that I suspect that 3 or 4 years from now, whenever you get to the graduate portion, that number might be a little slightly different, either up or down a little bit, but it's right around 65 or 70 every year into the graduate PA program.
Yeah, and so I'm the director of graduate admissions, and so we have 60 spots and Dr. Lippincott is absolutely right. That number might expand if we open up some additional sites, and that's something when we talk about the sites, we will talk more about that when we get to the graduate program overview. So there could be more than that, but as you probably could have predicted, it is competitive. Certainly we'll receive way more applications than what we have room for in the graduate program, which is why these 4+2, the 3+2 programs is such an attractive option, because it helps remove some of the gray area. Now again, the 4+2 program doesn't necessarily guarantee a spot, but there is, like Dr. Lippincott had said, that there's preference provided to Commonwealth U and Lock Haven undergraduates. Yep, very good question.
So I advise a lot of pre-A and pre-PT, meaning that when you move on to college, especially at Commonwealth U, you have what's called an academic advisor. It's a faculty member that's here to help mentor you and guide you. At some big institutions, there's advising centers where it's a staff person that's doing the advising, and they might be advising all different kinds of majors. At Commonwealth U, a faculty member will be your academic advisor, and that role is similar to what maybe your guidance counselor does in high school. We talk about what graduate school should you apply to, how can you be successful in class, all kinds of conversations about just mentorship and life and all that. So students in this program, we're talking about, okay, you're a 4+2, so you're not guaranteed admission to Commonwealth U Lock Haven's program, but you're a good student. You have 3.7, 3.8 GPA. You've done well on all of your classes. You have some extracurricular things on your resume to kind of boost yourself. But we're going to talk about, you're going to apply to maybe 3, 4, 5 graduate PA programs. Lock Haven's probably going to be top on your list, but you're going to apply to multiple. And that's true for all of our pre-professional degree programs, right? PT, AT, those students, you're applying to multiple graduate programs, and you're choosing schools based kind of on your interest, where it might be a good fit for you, and your academic preparation, your GPA, those kind of things.
Yep, great question. If I was to uphold a 3.2 GPA at another school, would I still be guaranteed an interview to the PA school, or would this only pertain to the Lock Haven pre-PA students?
That only applies to if you're a Lock Haven student, and I assume also a Bloomsburg campus student. All right. So if you're a Commonwealth U student and you have a 3+2 or higher, you're guaranteed an interview, right? But if you're a student at some other university, no, you're not guaranteed, and likely not going to get an interview if you're below a 3.2. They're interviewing students with 3.5, 3.6, 3.7 or higher GPA because it's so competitive.
Have you turned away students who met the criteria in the 4+2?
So these are really, really great questions. Some of these are probably better answered by the graduate, either the graduate admissions coordinator who's on this call, or the graduate PA office. But most of my role is at the undergraduate level. But yeah, sure. We've had 4+2 students apply to our graduate PA program that have not been admitted. Now, some of them, it might be because of the student's own performance and as undergrad. All these healthcare fields, it is so and so important. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is for you to come and do well academically. This program is so competitive. The graduate portion is so competitive. 3.5 is kind of a minimum GPA. We obviously want higher than that to kind of guarantee. It's not guaranteed admission, but really to have high likelihood of being accepted into the graduate program.
Yeah, it almost kind of seems like this is a field where it's good to make the decision to go to PA school when you're like a senior in high school, right? Because the academic preparation that's required in order to gain admission to the grad program is extremely competitive. What I have heard, and this is just anecdotal, like I don't necessarily have any rock hard science to be able to back this up, is that admission to the PA programs, the graduate programs, are comparably competitive as getting into like medical school. So that's kind of how you want to treat this. So, when we talk about, the 4+2, the 3+2 programs, like these are among a small list of majors where they are less of a major and more of like a lifestyle. And it's going to be rigorous because you're being prepared to basically save lives, right? And to do really important work. Not that other programs are not as important, but it is very, very complicated. So it's certainly not my intent to scare anybody away, but just in the effort of providing full transparency. That's kind of what you're looking at, which is great. If this is the field you want to be in, you are in the right place. Come to Commonwealth U and CU Lock Haven, you are certainly in the right place. But it is rigorous academic work, and I'm sure probably most of the people here would expect that.
I like that, Tom. It's a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle. This is a really highly motivated, highly successful group of students. Our pre-PA students are some of our best academically performing students on campus. We love to have this group of students. They do well in all of our classes. They're highly motivated. They want to do well. They want to get into grad school, all those kind of things. So we hope that that's you, and we hope that you decide to come and join us at CU Lock Haven. Let's move on to the 3+2 program and talk about that, because I'm sure there's going to be questions. Oh, wait. I forgot this slide was in here. So this is the traditional course sequence for the 4+2 model. And again, it's big enough. You should be able to see it unless you're watching this on a phone. But your first semester, you would have anatomy and physiology, typically a biology course, a first-year seminar class, which is a kind of an orientation to college kind of course. And then we hit the ground running from there. Again, this is suggested. There's some flexibility to this. The gen ed classes. We are a liberal arts institution, which means that about half of your credits are general education classes. That's classes like world history, composition. I think Tom was a world history or a history major, so we are not going to say anything about history classes at this point. But half of your credits will be general education, and then half of them are towards your major. So you can see, we have a pharmacology class, we have human genetics, we have advanced human anatomy and advanced human physiology. I'm going to pause here and just talk about our advanced human anatomy class. We're one of the few undergraduate institutions in the country that offer a cadaver dissection where you're dissecting a human body. As an undergraduate student, that is a totally unique experience that you don't get many places other than CU Lock Haven. The students will do the dissection. It's a student-led experience. It is the best way to learn the human body and how it works. And you see that it's listed there, your spring semester of your senior year, you'll see advanced human anatomy. That's the cadaver dissection class. So you'll have that right before you enter grad school. It is intentionally placed right in that semester. So you have anatomy your first semester when you come to CU Lock Haven, and you have it your last semester right before you go to grad school. It is a remarkable experience, unlike anything else you'll have as an undergraduate student in preparing you for the graduate school of your choice. We have that program. Advanced Human Anatomy is, for now, only available at the Lock Haven campus. We're hoping to expand that opportunity to Bloomsburg. It's not there yet, but by the time you all are juniors or seniors in college, we hope to have that available at Bloomsburg.
Yes, and also too, there is a video tour of and it is predominantly more for the graduate program in physician assistant studies on the CU Lock Haven PA website. So if you're looking to kind of put a video as reference to what Dr. Lippincott is talking about, that might be helpful. Kind of know that's part of the tour is the cadaver lab and some of the other facilities.
I can answer the question there about the dual enrollment credits toward gen eds. So we do accept dual enrollment credits from any regionally accredited college or institution. So if you're taking dual enrollment credits, you will probably most likely meet that criteria. But what you'll need to do is provide that transcript to the admissions office. And from there, we'll work with our registrar's office to make sure that you get credit for those courses. And we'll give you the exact equivalent that they have. So generally, you're taking compositions, Englishes, intro to psychology, maybe a sociology course. If you do happen to take some sciences, I know that might get a little tricky there, Eric. I don't know what you would advise in that scenario. rarely do I see dual enrollment students doing like A&P, but it might happen from time to time, or an intro to bio. So I'll let you advise what you do there.
In most instances, our recommendation is that you do gen eds, as Jamie mentioned, as dual enrollment, and you leave the science part of it to us. we are proud of the quality of education we deliver and the rigor to what we deliver, and so especially anatomy and physiology, it is such a important component of your educational experience that we want you to have our version of anatomy and physiology. So we're real particular about that one. That there might be some students on the call that are doing, we know we have some early admission or early college programs where we do offer anatomy and physiology to those high school students. But again, I think most of you, I would probably stick with the gen eds dual enrollment. If you have specific questions about dual enrollment classes, we can talk about those kind of offline afterwards.
Absolutely. And just because it is in the same vein, and I'm sure there may be questions, AP courses we do take with a 3 or higher generally, but I do know that there is a hard stop as far as like the sciences, because if you do AP bio, you're not going to get credit for the same bio that you need for the pre-physician assistant program, because as Dr. Lippincott just said, leave the sciences to them. So that one definitely I know is a hard line, but AP English, AP History, shout out to Tom, those ones we will take credit for with a 3 or higher.
Appreciate the shout out, guys. Got it. Not a health and PA major. And Sarah, so to answer your question, yes, there is a cadaver lab on campus. Frankly, I was as surprised as you might have been. I had no idea, again, as a history major, that was a thing on a college campus. But again, that's very rare. As you're looking at some of the distinguishing factors of our program, that's definitely one of them. There are not going to be many other programs around the country that offer that to you, not only as a grad student, but you're going to be doing it as an undergrad student, which I think is really important to keep in mind. Yeah. And then that gets us to the 3+2 program.
Yeah, so the 3+2 program, and many of our pre-health care programs have an accelerated option. So this is one of our accelerated degree options. So it's a 3+2 pre-PA model. This is an accelerated, and it's also guaranteed admission. So this is the one that guarantees you admission into the graduate program. This is only available to Lock Haven campus. You have to be a Lock Haven campus student to be enrolled in a 3+2 program. We are limited to 30 students per year, and we're committed to filling those 30 seats. So you'll be a part of a cohort of 30 students who start next fall, and you'll have that same group of 30 students in many of your classes. So you'll all be in anatomy together. You'll all be in biology together. This is, again, a really academically rigorous schedule. I mean, we've compacted 4 years of college essentially into 3 years instead of, traditional 4-year undergraduate degree program is 120 credits. This program, you're doing 111, I think is the number, in 3 years. We're able to count some of the graduate credits back to the undergraduate degree, but you're doing 111 credits in 3 years, which is a big number. This is a highly competitive, limited enrollment program. You will apply to Commonwealth University pre-PA, and there's, Jamie corrected me if I'm wrong here, there's a 3+2 drop down on the application. So when you get to that point, we want you to select 3+2. If you've already applied and you've applied traditional pre-PA and you want to reach out to us, we can switch that in the system, or let us know and we'll review your application. But basically the process works. We're starting next week, really soon, to review applications. So if you're interested in the 3+2 program, get your application in very, very soon if you want to be considered in the first round of interviews. Our first round of interviews we review everyone that's applied. We bring the best students on campus for an interview. That first interview is scheduled tentatively for October 13th, which is a Friday in about 3 weeks. So you'll hear from us if you're invited to come on campus for that interview. You'll come for the day. You'll see our building. You'll meet with faculty. We'll do a short interview. Make sure you're going to be a good fit, and then you'll hear from us with a period of time after that, whether you've been offered admission to that program or not. We will then continue to cycle through interviews and review applications until that program is full of 30 seats. The Typically, we do require the SATs for that program. This is unique. Commonwealth University is a test optional, generally speaking, but some of our accelerated degree programs do require the SATs or the ACTs, and this is one of those. So you have to have SAT or ACTs done. Our general kind of number that we're looking for SAT score is around a 1200 for this program. So next week, as we start reviewing applications, we're looking at 1200 SAT and typically 3.4 or higher GPA, although many of the students in this program have a much higher GPA than that, high school GPA.
And
so go ahead, Tom.
So, Jamie and Dr. Lippincott, do you have any additional information on the SAT or the ACT score that that you're looking for on an admissions committee?
I'm looking at the ACT equivalent right now. I don't have those ones memorized. But 1200, as Eric mentioned, for the SAT, and for the ACT, that equivalent is about a 25, 26.
I was going to say 26, I think. So again, what we'll do is in a week or so, we'll start reviewing everyone that's applied 3+2 PA, or even the ones that have applied 4+2 traditional pre-PA. Look for SAT scores that are above, right around 1200 or higher, making sure that you have at least a 3.4 or higher GPA. If you meet those criteria, you're going to be invited on campus for an interview. We'll do that. Then that's a kind of a half day activity where you hear about the program, you meet the faculty, you see our facilities, we do a short little interview, and then you'll hear from us soon thereafter with a separate admission. So this is kind of a two-step admission process. There's admission to the university first, and then there's a follow-up admission to this accelerated degree program. Then, go ahead. I get excited talking about this one.
Yeah, how many shadowing hours are required for either path?
So there are none required for admission as an undergraduate student. So to come to Commonwealth University, we don't require any shadowing hours. Now, when you apply to the graduate program, you will have to have some shadowing hours. And I believe that number is 75 hours of observation. But that's down the road. We don't require any for you to come in as a freshman.
And just to one more follow-up piece of information here. So I know we have a recorded virtual information that we had done recently for the graduate program in physician assistant studies. So for those of you who are already kind of, again, you're looking down the road and wondering, all right, what do I need to do to get into grad school? It's a great place to be. Let me know, and I can follow up with that information. I'd be more than happy to send that to you, as well as like some of the video tours and things that I had already referenced here. But these are phenomenal questions. Please keep them coming.
That last bullet point there says where it talks about guaranteed admission. That's guaranteed admission to the graduate program. So once you come to CU Lock Haven and you're one of our students in this program, as long as you get a B or better in your core classes, so that's classes like anatomy and physiology, biology, chemistry, your core classes, and a 3.2 or higher GPA, and you interview for the graduate program, you're guaranteed admission. So in that class of 60 seats in the graduate PA program, 30 of those are committed to students in the 3+2 program. So half of those are coming to 3+2 students. So as long as you meet those admission requirements, 3.2 or higher GPA, most of these students are much higher than that. This is you're going to come, if you're in this program, you're going to come to CU Lock Haven and you're going to be successful and you're going to get good grades and you're going to go to the grad program and you're going to be a PA in 5 years, and have a great job and make a decent salary and have a good living. But again, guaranteed admission, that's one real advantage. That kind of, in my mind, there is some, I don't say it's a disadvantage, but you got to realize that this is also a really accelerated program. You're taking essentially 4 years of college and you're condensing it to 3 years. And so a little more pressure, a little higher stakes, a little more condensed. But if you feel like, this is what I want to do, I want to be a PA, I want to get out as soon as I can, then this is the path for you, right? And it's guaranteed admission in the graduate portion. Like Tom said earlier, it's super competitive to get into graduate PA school. So guaranteed admission is pretty sweet deal.
A couple more questions about the admission component. How many candidates are invited to interview on any given day?
We have the interviews capped at 20 per interview date. So we have another date in November picked out with a potential third date. We want to make sure that we get 30 offers out, but then we'll also fill a wait list as well. So you may be invited to interview and it may be for a spot on the wait list. But we do know that students, as you all know, are applying to multiple programs. They might have a top choice, so they might end up going elsewhere down the line. So.
Great, thanks. Do shadowing hours have to be done during the undergrad years, or could some be done during high school?
It's always great to do. This is a question we often get. It's always great to, I think, to do some shadowing in high school, just to kind of get a sense of, yeah, I really want to do healthcare, right? I want to go into a healthcare field. But those hours typically don't count when you go to apply to a graduate program. They want to see more recent hours, and they want you to have some knowledge when you go to do those observation hours. You know a little bit about anatomy and disease and all those kind of things when you do your observation hours. So it's great to do some observation as a high school student. I think it looks good on your resume. When you interview for the 3+2 program, we might even ask you that as a question, like, are you doing any observation or shadowing, and tell us about that experience. But it's not guaranteed. It's not required for undergraduate admission, but it will be required for grad. As an undergraduate student, you'll take a class. We have a class, field experience, it's called, which is an internship. Essentially, you go out and shadow a PA or a physician, and you get those hours you need to apply to graduate school. So that'll be one of your undergraduate courses.
If you have already been accepted to the pre-PA program, is there still a chance you will be offered an interview?
So with that one, because operationally we did not originally on the application have the 3+2 designation. So to be fair, for any student that has applied or been accepted to health science pre-physician assistant, the 4+2, if they meet the requirements that we're looking for as far as having the SAT score range and GPA, we will send them to the faculty for review. And then if they would like to interview you, they will put you into that cohort. So yes, the short answer is yes, you will be.
So Jamie, if someone wanted to switch from just the general pre-PA program to 3+2, would they need to email you, or is that something that would just happen automatically in the back end?
Yep. So they could do either. If they want to absolutely guarantee and they would feel better having the 3+2 on their application, that is not a problem. We're happy to switch it. Just because of the volume of applicants, I'm going to put in the admissions email address in here. You'll just email the admissions office, and then we'll make sure it gets taken care of.
Right. Great. Thank you. Dr. Lippincott, we're ready to move on?
I think so. Are there any further questions on this one? I know that there were a lot.
As of now, no. But again, everyone, these are, again, phenomenal questions. So I'm sure you're not the only people wondering these same questions. So if you got them, this is a good time to ask for sure. Let's just see here. After the 3-year undergraduate program and having all the requirements met, someone is invited to an interview. Is the interview competitive?
The interview, so everyone that applies to the graduate program, doesn't matter if you're applying 3+2 or 4+2, everyone that applies to the graduate program has to go through the interview. For the 3+2 students, it's really kind of perfunctory. It is, I think, and I've been at Lock Haven for 23 years. I think, they've had 30 students a year times 20, that's 600 plus students going through this type of program. I think I can remember one student that really bombed their interview and wasn't admitted. That's really the exception to the rule. It's really, they want to get to know you. The PA faculty want to get to know you. You'll be well prepared. Yes, you have to go through that interview process, but it should not be a huge concern or a barrier to anyone.
Yeah, and again, yet another important thing to keep in mind is, again, that's a benefit of coming to Lock Haven, is the faculty who will be conducting those interviews, whether you're 3-2, 4-2, biomedical sciences or what have you, you're going to know them, right? And there's going to be some type of relationship. Basically, you've had a 4-year interview at that point, or a 3-year interview at that point, and a chance to demonstrate your ability. So that works to your advantage, assuming you've done it the right way. Do you provide assistance with finding shadowing and clinical rotation opportunities?
Yes. So as an undergraduate student, like I said, you will have to do a shadowing class. It's a 3-credit field experience class. And our students do those either local in the Lock Haven area or back home. A lot of students choose to do them back home. And so, yeah, you'll work with your faculty advisor to find a site and make sure we have a contract in place and all those kind of things. There are some kind of stipulations where you can do them, but you work with your faculty advisor to find a site and we'll help you with that placement. I do want to mention, Tom, if you go to the next slide.
Yes.
So this is what the 3+2 sequence looks like. I want to point out a couple things here. First, realize that there's summer classes. So the 3+2 program, almost all of our programs at CU Lock Haven don't require summer classes. You have the choice to take summer classes if you want. If you want to lighten your load or whatever, you can take summer classes. But really, to get to this point, the 3+2 program does require you to take some summer classes. Now, a lot of you probably have either dual enrollment or AP courses that would probably wipe out some of those summer credits. So if you're coming in with 9 or 12, or even had students come in with like 18 credits of dual enrollment, it wipes out those summer. You wouldn't have to take summer classes. But we do, in order to get all the credits done in 3 years, there are some summer requirements. So you can see summer year 2, like halfway down the screen on the left, you'll see that professional field experience class. That's where you're out shadowing either a PA or physician in the Lock Haven community or back home. Again, that's where you get your shadowing hours that you'll need to apply to the graduate school. It's again, in the 3+2 program, it's a 2-credit experience. In the 4+2, it's a 3-credit, just how many hours you spend there. You'll also see in the 3rd year, we also have the advanced anatomy class. So that class, again, is present in both of the 4+2 and the 3+2. There was something else I wanted to mention. Where is that class? Oh, fall of sophomore year. So if you go back up to fall of sophomore year, you'll see intro to PA studies. So about halfway, right in the middle of the screen, on the left-hand side, there's intro to PA studies. That's actually a class that's taught by one of the graduate PA faculty members. That class is reserved for the 3+2 students. If there's seats available, some 4+2 students can take it, but seats are held for the 3+2ers. So you're in class with one of the graduate PA faculty. Again, that's unique to CU Lock Haven. Not many institutions are you going to go and have one of your graduate faculty teach one of your undergraduate courses. That's where you get to know the graduate faculty. It really will help you when it comes time to the interview. They'll talk to you about the interview process. These are the kind of questions you can expect. Develop a relationship with them as a sophomore, right? So really pretty early on in your academic career, do you start to have interactions with the graduate PA faculty?
Yeah, I think one of the things that came across pretty clearly, and also same thing with 4+2, is you're going to get into the coursework very early in your academic career. So you're going to be able to confirm it, like, hey, this is what I want to do, right? And I think that's one of the things that's really helpful for anybody who's trying to, you're entering the stage of your life where it's like, look, I have to figure out what I'm going to do for the next 40 years, right? So you're going to get into your coursework, and that's more of a general Commonwealth, benefit here. Is this is going to be the case regardless of the major, but like we're not holding your major work back until your junior year, right? We're not sticking you in mass lecture halls for your first year. You're going to get hands-on. You're going to be able to experience what the future career and the future graduate program will be like very early in your academic career. Is that available at Bloomsburg?
3+2 program is only available at the Lock Haven campus. And one of the reasons why is because of that intro to PA studies class, that sophomore level class. The graduate PA faculty are at Lock Haven. They want to interact with you. They want to see you. They want to touch base with you as an undergraduate student. They want to make that connection with you. So that program is only available currently at the Lock Haven campus. We're going to talk really, as a 17, 18-year-old, grad school is probably pretty far down your horizon. But if you're committing to a 3+2 program, you should know what the graduate portion is going to be like. So just a quick kind of summary of what our graduate PA program, and I am not a faculty member in that program. I know that program pretty well. I know the faculty real well. So, specific questions about the PA program, you should direct to the PA faculty. But it's a 2-year program, 24 months. So it starts in the summer. So, it goes summer, fall, spring, all year round for 2 years. The first year, so you'll start that summer, for the first 12 months is all coursework. It's what would they consider the didactic year, where you're in class all day, every day. It almost kind of takes you back to your high school days where you're in class from, 9 to 3, 8 to 3 every day. That's really what it's like to be a graduate PA student. It's intense. It's an intense year. You know, it's really meant to prepare you to go out and enter the medical workforce. I want to mention now that the PA program is delivered to multiple campus locations, and it's really kind of cool technology how this is delivered. I tell students all the time that the PA program was doing Zoom technology before Zoom was even a thing. So the content is delivered to multiple campus locations. So we have students that are sitting in Lock Haven. The majority of our students are sitting in Lock Haven, but we have a small cohort that sits in Harrisburg and a small cohort that sits in Clearfield. And soon, probably by the time you get there, a cohort sitting in the Mansfield campus. Again, lots of steps have to happen for that to take place, but likely we'll have students at the Mansfield campus. So what that means is, if I'm lecturing in the graduate PA program, I'm standing in front of the class, I have, 30 or so students in front of me, but there's also on the screen in front of me, 12 students at Clearfield and 12 students at Harrisburg. I do lecture in that program. I teach in their orthopedics module in the spring semester. I teach some sports medicine and orthopedic kind of content. It's seamless. It is a great technology. There's no difference in the students that are at Lock Haven versus the other campus locations. If a student at Clearfield or Harrisburg has a question, they simply press a button on their desk and the camera zooms in on them and the microphone picks them up. And it's just like they're sitting in the classroom in front of me. It is awesome technology and works great. And they've been doing that model for, I don't know how long, 20 years. And it works well. It gets students at different parts throughout the state. I suspect I'm going to get a question about our 3+2 students given the choice of what campus location that they're given. Maybe Tom or Jamie can answer that question because I don't know the answer to it. Someone asked me that just the other day. I suspect that 3+2 students will get their choice of what campus location they go to.
Yeah, and I believe that is the case as well. Obviously, the largest location is going to be at Lock Haven, but no, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the 3+2 students would have their preference. Yeah, for sure.
And so the first year is all, like I said, the first year is all coursework. So you're in class all day, every day, taking exams, practicing skills, physical exam skills, all those kind of things. Then the second year is a year full of clinical rotations, and you'll rotate through. You might spend 6 weeks in general surgery. You'll spend 6 weeks in emergency department, 6 weeks, and I'm just using those 6 weeks as a time frame, general time frame, 6 weeks in pediatrics. Their accrediting body has certain standards. I mean, you have to do certain rotations, but then I think you also get a chance of some electives. So if, let's say you really want to do orthopedics and orthopedic surgery, you'll do an orthopedics elective rotation. So that's the entire second year. And then after your second year of grad school, you take the national board exam, the PANCE exam. The program's average is 95% pass rate, first time pass rate, so that means 95% of the students pass the exam on the first time. Great number. You'll graduate, you'll pass the exam, you'll get a job, you'll move on with your life and be happy. Again, I am not a PA faculty member. I did put a link to the PA program website there. If you have questions, you can find information on that website. If you have questions about the admission process, I'm sure Tom can answer them. There was a question, I think, in chat about how many non-Commonwealth U students are in the graduate program. If it's a program size of 60, I would say that maybe around half or maybe a little bit more are Commonwealth U students, depending on how many 3+2 students move through, how many 4+2 students they admit. So I'd say out of a class of 60, probably maybe 30 or 40 of those are Commonwealth U students.
That sounds about right. Yep. Can you study abroad in the 3+2 program during the summer?
During the summer, yes. Let me talk briefly about some study abroad experiences. As a healthcare provider and as someone who's done education for 20 some years, sorry if you can hear my dog barking in the background. I'm not sure what's going on. Studying abroad is an incredibly valuable experience, whether you do it for a short-term 2-week over winter break or over the summer, or if you do it for an entire semester. I cannot encourage it enough to see healthcare delivery models across the globe and how healthcare is delivered differently in other countries and different health systems and different diseases. Incredibly valuable experience. So I encourage everyone to do it. In the 3+2 program, challenging to do it in the fall or spring semester. You could certainly do it in the summer. I see the option of doing a summer. But another really cool thing that happens in our department is one of the undergraduate faculty members in our department, health science department, and one of the graduate PA faculty members do a winter service trip or international study trip to typically to Jamaica. And they go down and they provide healthcare. And they do basic like blood pressure screenings and diabetes education and those kind of things. There's undergraduate pre-PA students who go on that experience. There's graduate PA students. There's undergraduate faculty. There's graduate faculty. It's a really great experience. And you get to, spend a couple weeks in Jamaica. And that's typically over winter break is when that experience happens. And again, highly recommend it.
And if I'm not mistaken, that's embedded in the graduate PA program. So even if you feel like you're not quite ready or you didn't get the opportunity, you couldn't work it into your schedule as an undergraduate, that experience is built into the graduate program. That's one of the areas of emphasis for the PA program. In fact, if you visit the website that Dr. Lippincott had down there, and again, I'm happy to follow up with additional information as well. I can send you links to it. You can see some of the debriefs about what these groups of students do when they're down there. Like they'll walk you through a day in the life of, kind of what they're doing while they're on these trips. It is so impressive. It is unbelievable. And again, as we talk about, like one of the things that differentiates our program from others, that's one of those, that service learning trip. When you go there, you're not taking poli-sci 101. You're going down there taking and doing hands-on things that are relevant for the career field you're going into.
And as an undergraduate student, you get that experience with the graduate faculty. It's so important to start making those connections with the graduate faculty as an undergraduate student. So yeah, it's a really phenomenal experience.
So, and Dr. Lippincott had mentioned the technology that's being used in the graduate program. You can see a good example of that. That's in a nanomage table, if right. I'm not mistaken. So again, that's another thing that we talk about in that video tour of the facility. So if you get the chance, that might help provide some reference there. What is the overall graduation rate for the undergrad PA program? Question.
Oh, that's a great question that I'll have to follow up with an answer. Jamie, can you talk about, do either of you know general Commonwealth U graduation rate off the top of your head?
I know like our individual campus ones, but after integration, I don't know if we have the full Commonwealth University one, but we can certainly follow up with that student with the number because I don't want to misspeak with it unless, Tom, you have.
Yeah, generally the national average of students who graduate within 4 years is somewhere around 40-45%. The amount of students that graduate within 5 years, that jumps to like 60 or 65%. And the amount of students that graduate within 6 years is like 80%, something like that. Honestly, it's not a bad thing just to do a quick Google of. In terms of what the graduation rate is for the pre-PA program, the undergrad degree program, if I had to venture guess, it's probably pretty high. The students that come here, they're already academically driven. Again, a majority of the people in the audience here today were already asking questions about grad school. When I was looking at college, I was not even thinking, I didn't know grad school was even a thing. So you guys are academically very well prepared. So if I had to venture a guess, I would say the 4-year graduation rate is going to be significantly higher than the national average, just because you guys you're on top of it. You're on the ball. That's a great question, though. I was just curious how many students end up staying or changing majors away from the PA program. Oh, yeah, in Madeline, that is a very good question. And I think that speaks to one of the things that Dr. Lippincott had mentioned at the beginning, too, is, there's a chance, right, that you might start to be like, I don't know if this is what I want to do. And that's okay. The good news is if you're like even somewhat interested in the subject matter and you decide, maybe I don't want to be a PA, but you know what, being a PT seems pretty interesting. Or you know what, maybe I want to go into athletic training. Like you've got all these other options that are adjacent that you can easily switch into, and it's not going to set you back anytime. So it's not like one of those situations where you're putting all of your eggs into this one basket. And if that doesn't work, well, then what am I going to do? That's not the situation you're walking into right now. Also, a benefit of going to a school like CU Lock Haven is you're going to get good advising. This is the question you're trying to answer is, what am I going to do for the rest of my life, right? So that's a really, really important question. It's way too important to just leave that to a Google search, right? Like, you want to get some good professional guidance from our faculty, and you're going to get that here. You're not going to have a GA or a TA teaching your classes or doing advising. You're going to work with people like Dr. Lippincott, right? And I think that's one of the things that you really can't ignore either, is not only what happens in the classroom, but what happens in like a co-curricular setting where it's still somewhat academic related, but it's not like major related. And that advising is so incredibly important.
And there are often questions, if you start 3+2, and let's say either there's, the pressure or the condensed nature of that 3+2 program is too much for you, or you come, you don't do well your first semester and you get a 3.0 and you decide, yeah, I'm not sure that this condensed program is for me. We can always decelerate you and put you into the 4+2 model, or we can switch you over, like Tom said, one of the other pre-professional degree programs. Some of the other PT and AT and OT, they're not nearly as competitive as PA is right now. So, you're still doing healthcare, and we can help you get to that. And that's really the role of your academic advisor, faculty members who have 10, 15, 20 years of experience doing this, to help get you there, right? To get you to that end goal.
Yep. These are great questions, though. So we turn it over to Mrs. Kester here to talk about the application process. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, absolutely. So official. So the application process we try to make as simple as possible. So we have the online application, and we can certainly put the link for that in the chat, Tom, if you don't mind doing that, just the link to the application. But with that, you'll provide your just basic biographical information, your high school information. From there, you'll put in if you are submitting SAT scores or not. As you heard, it's optional for the 4+2 program, but required for the 3+2. So that is a difference. And then you'll need to get us your official transcripts. As we mentioned, we are going to pool applicants for the first round of 3+2 interviews in the next week or so. And that interview will take place, hoping, on October 13th, Friday, October 13th. And then there will be another round of interviews in November, later in November. So you do want to get your application in as soon as possible to be eligible for either of those interview dates. The official transcripts we'll need from your high school counseling office. And then your application fee, which we do waive for a visit. And this can count as a visit. So you can indicate on your application that you have visited campus. This is as good as a visit. You're giving up some time on a Wednesday evening when the weather is beautiful. So absolutely, we will waive that application fee for you. And then from there, you will be admitted or given a decision. I'm going to say you're going to be admitted because you're all great students. I just know it. Probably into the health science pre-physician assistant program. And then if you are chosen for an interview for 3+2, that will come separately. So that's an important distinction, is you will not find out about 3+2 acceptance until after the interview takes place, if you're selected for an interview. And then the important part is, if you are looking at the 4+2, is to apply by December 15th and have your application completed to guarantee scholarship eligibility. If your application is completed after December 15th, we cannot guarantee you a merit scholarship. Eric, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I got a question, Jamie.
Sure,
No,
sure.
Just to make sure it's clear, Commonwealth U, I almost said Lock Haven, Commonwealth U does not use the Common App, correct?
Correct. We do not use the Common App. We only have our application, which is at that link below, apply.commonwealthu.edu. On that application, you can apply to just Lock Haven if you know you're all in on our pre-PA program. If you are thinking about pre-PA, not 3+2, and you're considering Lock Haven and Bloomsburg, you're welcome to apply to those two. If you're interested in Lock Haven and Bloomsburg for PA, and you're thinking you maybe want to do music at Mansfield, you can apply for all three in the application all at once.
Yep, a couple follow-up questions on the application process. Do you require recommendation letters to be considered for the interview?
We do not require letters of recommendation. They are optional. From my understanding, when looking at the interviewees, the faculty do not look at letters of recommendation. I personally, when I review applications, love a letter of recommendation, so throw them in. I love a personal essay, but they aren't necessarily used in the interview selection process.
Yes. So two of the people that sit on this admission committee are on this call right here, and that is Dr. Lippincott and that is Jamie. So those are good people to kind of keep in mind. So
I will say
Jonathan,
one thing here, Tom, quick.
go ahead, yeah, please do.
The scholarship eligibility information, definitely, get your application in soon if you want to be eligible for those scholarships. They're significant merit scholarships, so get your application in by that December 15th deadline, even if you're going to do 4+2.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, a lot of our pre-PA students do the honors program. The honors program, we don't have a lot of time to talk about what honors is, but a set group of classes, and 3 or 4, 5 classes that are specifically honor courses. You do some honors projects. It's really smaller class size, more in-depth conversations. Many of our especially our accelerated degree programs and also our 4+2 students end up doing the honors program. I would encourage you to consider it if you receive information about honors.
Yep,
and sometimes that'll also come with some additional scholarship money too, if available.
So the merit scholarships, they are scholarships that we use based off of GPA. And so when you are admitted, we'll then also review your application for a scholarship, and you'll get a separate letter that outlines what the amount of that award is and the renewal criteria for that. So there are ranges, there's differences depending on what high school and where you live. If you're a Pennsylvania resident, if you're an out-of-state resident, so there's some caveats to that. But we would award that, I would say, within a month of your acceptance to the university, because we've just kicking off this cycle. We're still ironing out some of the scholarship details, so we haven't released them yet. But I would say by mid to late October, those will be out and about. So then we have cost. Oh, and I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off, Tom.
No, go ahead, Jamie. Actually, I think some of the follow-up questions are going to be in direct relation to this.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the most important parts about Commonwealth University is that we are a state-owned university. And so what that means is that our costs are a lot lower from the very beginning than our competitors. And so just because I've been doing this for a long time, I understand the other physician assistant programs in Pennsylvania and even out of state that you might also be considering. And so we kind of have some names listed here without calling out any universities, but selective private universities, private, and then state-related universities as well. So you can see for that first white block for the Lock Haven Bald Eagle there, our total cost per year on average for a freshman student is right just above $22,000 per year. You break that into 2 semesters, it's just about $11,000 per semester. So that's before any scholarships. That's the sticker price that we like to call it. For out-of-state students, it's on average right around $31,000. Per year, and again, before any scholarships or financial aid. The key, besides your merit scholarship, which for Pennsylvania residents can be as much as $5,000 for an in-state student, and for an out-of-state student, it can be up to $12,000 depending on your qualifications there. So you can already kind of start to imagine how that number comes down quickly. In addition, you'll have FAFSA to complete. The federal government runs the FAFSA. The FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. So federal government's in charge there. They're throwing us a curveball. So typically the FAFSA would open in October. It's opening in December this year. We don't have an exact date, but they guarantee an easier process for you. They're taking the FAFSA from its 37 questions down to 10. So we'll see. But that will alert us as to what kind of grants, federal scholarships, and any other need-based aid that we can award you. Work study is an example of that. So we hope to have those out to you. I would say by February is a safe bet at this point. And that's when you'll hear back from financial aid from a lot of the schools that you're applying to. But it is important to note the amount that Lock Haven costs from the start, especially since you're going to be investing in graduate school education, right? You don't just have to worry about a 4-year degree. I was a communication major here. Like Tom, I didn't know what graduate school was, did go on to complete it eventually, but I was not too focused on that. But all of you that know that you will be doing graduate school, you have to think about that when you're budgeting. You don't want to spend $200,000 on your undergraduate degree when you're going to be spending a pretty penny on your graduate school work. And I'm sure Dr. Lippincott could add to that. But that's the nuts and bolts of the cost.
You want to look at your college experience as, it's an investment, right? It's an investment in your future career. And there should be some elements of your evaluation of what's the return on the investment. Now, the good news is, you're going into a field where your earning potential is going to be pretty high. So that's good. But we have this is a pretty unique situation where, we're preparing you for this. We have the grad program in-house. You're getting small class sizes. Generally, like, you're going to pay a lot more for that. Normally, like, the smaller the environment, the more money it costs. And at Lock Haven, at CU Lock Haven, this is one of the outliers. But that's not really going to be the case, at Commonwealth. So this is tremendous value. This is as good value as you're going to find anywhere else, frankly. And you want to think about, extrapolate what student debt might mean to you as you graduate. And again, certainly not our intent to intimidate anybody, but we do have a responsibility to be transparent with the cost of going to college. Again, we can confidently say, though, that your investment in a degree at Commonwealth U is going to be as sound as you will find, for sure. So, Jonathan, a great question about scholarships. We have a full listing of all of our scholarship breakdowns at commonwealthu.edu/value, VALUE. That might be the easiest way to navigate to that. Great question, though. What questions are typically asked during the interview to better prepare yourself? Good question.
So if you are selected for an interview, the type of questions you might hear are something, they're going to be basic questions, right? It's getting to know you, it's getting to know, can you communicate well. It might be like, what are some of your high school experiences? Tell us about something that was challenging during your high school experience. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Career goals. They're obviously not going to be softball questions, but they're typical standard interview questions. I think if you Google typical college interview questions, it's going to be the ones that come up on that Google search. Not to tell you that that's what you should do, but they're going to be pretty standard questions. And really, it's just a way for us to make sure that you can communicate and be eventually an effective communicator with your patients. I mean, that's part of that initial screening process is, are you going to be able to, in 5 or 6 years, communicate with your patients effectively?
Yeah, great question. Do you need the official transcript to schedule an interview, or will an unofficial work? My high school has not released them yet.
Unofficial is fine. The most important part to make sure that your application doesn't get slowed down is it needs to have your finished 11th grade years on it. So we have gotten a number of unofficial transcripts this fall, but a lot are missing 11th grade. Can't do anything unless we have 11th grade. So as long as it has 11th grade, we are good on an unofficial transcript. That's okay. We will need the official one when you graduate.
Yep. And what is the graduate school cost per year? And Dr. Lipinka, actually, I can take that one unless you want to.
No, go for it. I had looked it up. I saw this question in the chat, but I want to hear your answer.
Yeah, so the cost is going to be a little bit more in grad school. So as a Pennsylvania resident, your first year is going to be around $33,000 in the PA program. The second year is a little bit cheaper. It's around $28,000 as a Pennsylvania resident. So for 2 years of graduate school in the PA program, you're looking at a little over $60,000 per year. Again, give or take, those numbers will change over, every year is going to be a little different. For a non-Pennsylvania resident, so basically if you live anywhere other than in the state of Pennsylvania, your first year is going to be around $47,000 and your second year will be around $40,000. So your total investment for your graduate degree as a non-Pennsylvania resident is going to be around $88,000. How do I do?
So this slide that's on the screen, as a parent of someone that's in college right now, who's thinking about graduate school, the state-owned universities, the PASHE schools, Lock Haven, Commonwealth University Lock Haven, is an incredible, affordable education. You're going to get a really high education, a high quality education at a really affordable rate. You just heard the price tag for the graduate school, right? Somewhere 60 to 80,000 for graduate school. Personally, as a parent, I don't want to be doubling or tripling that for the undergraduate portion on top of the graduate school. If all these healthcare fields, you're committed to 6 or 7 or 8 years of college, there is a significant value in the state-owned universities, and you'll get. I'm a product of one. I feel like I had a really good education, and we have been producing at Commonwealth University Lock Haven. We've been producing high quality graduates that have gone into graduate school and have gone on to do great things in their career out of our program. So it cost should be a considering factor unless you're, sitting on a significant chunk of your own personal cash that you can spend. And if you are that person, my daughter's a freshman in Bloomsburg, maybe you can help
But
her out.
even if you've accumulated that type of independent wealth, this is again, this is good value, and it is important to keep that in mind too. I mean, as someone who's looking at going to grad school, mitigating debt is going to be important, right? It's not monopoly money. You're going to have to pay that back at some point. So why take out more than what you absolutely need? You're going to get, again, you're not going to find a better education than what you're going to find here. So those are all great points. So one final point of follow-up here. There are a couple opportunities coming up here in October and November to come to the Lock Haven campus and explore the campus itself and learn more about the PA program in person. There are 2 fall open houses. And again, there are other virtual engagement tools on the websites too. So hopefully this is the beginning of a conversation, a beginning of a discussion. We certainly hope to hear more from everybody here in the future. And that kind of gets to the open Q&A portion of this, which I know we've been kind of triaging some of these questions as they came up. So I kind of laughably started by saying this might run 30 or 40 minutes, and we've doubled that. So if anybody has any other questions, though, we are here to help them. So if you've got something else that we haven't covered yet, please let us know. Again, we work for you. So this is a good time. It's not often we get this much brain power in one Zoom room with Mrs. Kester and Dr. Lippincott here. Is there anything else? We purposely did this on Wednesday night because we know the Eagles play tomorrow night. So we didn't want to, interrupt anyone's sport watching, although Dr. Lippincott, I think you're a Steelers guy.
Madeline, we would love to help you on your tour date. As long as it's Monday through Friday, we generally don't have an issue. Saturdays might be a little bit tricky, but I do know that Dr. Lippincott's team is very dedicated, so we could even potentially make that work. I'm going to put my email in the chat. You can send me an email. I'll connect you with our visit coordinator, and we can see what we can make happen on your visit day.
And then our tutor services offered at Commonwealth.
Yeah, we have all kinds of tutoring options. We have a general tutoring center on campus. So, all students can sign up for tutoring. That's typically for, freshman, sophomore level classes. You're in a freshman level biology course, and you feel like, yeah, maybe I should go to tutoring. It's free. You sign up, you go there. It's with upper level students, typically juniors and seniors who've done really well in the class. They'll help you study. They'll answer questions, all those kind of things. I encourage all of especially my freshmen, sophomores, as they're just into college, to use tutoring services. But also in our department, we do some peer tutoring as well. So for your first year, you'll have freshman anatomy and physiology. It's a challenging class. It's one of the hardest classes you'll have as a freshman student. And so we have department-wide tutors specifically for that class. And so they're in the space a couple nights a week. You can come in, you can study with them. They're specifically for that anatomy and physiology course.
How many interview days are there for the 3+2 program in a typical academic year?
We have 2 scheduled for this fall. We're expecting probably we might need a third one in December. So we'll kind of see where we are at that point. It's all about how many of you decide to attend CU Lock Haven in the 3+2 program. If we get, our goal is to have 20 for the first round and go from there. We might be full after the second round, or we might need to do a third round in December. And again, we'll evaluate kind of ongoing and continue to host interview sessions. I mean, last year, I think we actually did one in maybe January, February, because we still had seats available. So it all depends on seats available and how many students accept our offer.
There was a question from Keegan about switching application from just health science pre-physician assistant to the 3+2. And yes, Keegan, all you have to do is email either the admissions email address, or you can email myself. Both of them are in the chat here. So just email one of those or both accounts if you're feeling froggy. We'll make sure it gets changed for you.
Michaela, your question about medical terminology, most likely medical terminology is a required course. A lot of high school programs or dual enrollment programs offer medical terminology. It has to be 3 credits, right? Some places offer a 1 credit medical terminology. We require 3 credits of medical terminology, so make sure it's a 3 credit course. And likely, again, we don't guarantee it would transfer in, but most likely it's going to transfer in.
If offered a place in 3+2, when would you need to accept that place by?
Yeah, so if you are admitted into the 3+2 program, you'll get a contract, and that contract will have a date on it. It's usually within a couple weeks after your interview. I can't give a broad date just because if you are offered an interview, that could change, but there will be a deadline on it. And then you will have to pay your admissions deposit by May 1st to guarantee that spot. So you'll have to turn in that contract by a certain date and then pay your deposit by May 1st to guarantee that seat.
Is there an introduction to PA profession class available at Coursework?
Not at this time. If you want, if that class is important to you, if you want to experience that class, if you want to be engaged with the graduate PA faculty, it has to be the Lock Haven campus.
Yeah, that's a good question, though. Is there anything else?
Really great questions tonight.
Yeah,
it was a really engaging audience. You know, sometimes on Zoom, you wonder what kind of audience participation you're going to get. You guys were great. I do encourage you all to attend. If you haven't been to campus before, attend one of our fall open house events, or hopefully if you're interested in the accelerated program, you get that accelerated interview offer to come on campus for an interview. My contact information was in the last slide, but I'll put my email address in the chat if you want to grab that real quick before we go. Again, I'm happy to, if you want to do a personal tour, contact the admissions office during the week and they can set you up, and I'm happy to be the tour guide once you get to our Willis Health Professions building. My email address, I put it there in the chat. Again, I hope to see you all at Commonwealth U Lock Haven. We offer a really great education all the way from your freshman year up through the graduate program. So I hope I hope you learned a lot tonight. I hope it was a meaningful presentation. If you have questions after the meeting, feel free to reach out to either Jamie or Tom or myself. We'll be happy to answer them.
great. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks all. Have a good night.